Beyond your own collection, there are also moments with other bass players, and you traveled around, you went as far as Australia to meet other bass players. You will find in the book chats between Geddy and John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin, for example. Absolutely a superb array of musicians talking about their basses. Did you have any fanboy moments?
Yeah, of course. Well, first of all, you know, it was my great privilege to talk to some of these players who I really admired. John Paul Jones, for example, who's, you know, is the sweetest guy on the planet Earth, too, I might add. He wouldn't even let me pay for his taxi to my apartment. He's just a lovely guy, and he speaks so well, and if you read his interview, you get a sense how lovely he is, and informative. So there was a moment where we were getting ready to take his picture, and, you know, he had the famous 62 jazz bass that he played on all the early Zepp records with him, and his very first bass, you know. By the way, he's the only guy that I interviewed when I sent a little letter and requested your favorite and your first bass. He actually brought them. He actually paid attention, so he read the letter. So, but as we're waiting for the lights to be ready, he starts playing Heartbreaker.
He's just noodling.
Just playing Heartbreaker.
Like a kid in a basement.
And we're all sitting around going, he's playing Heartbreaker. And then we say, well, can I hold the bass? And he goes, sure. And he picks up the other bass, and I'm holding the Heartbreaker bass. You know, I'm holding the communication breakdown bass, the immigrant song bass, you know. So that was a great thrill for me. And the other, I mean, I should explain that when it came to doing these interviews, I could have talked to 100 bass players, and all of them would have been so interesting and fun. But I chose bass players that really connected with what the book is about. Rather than talk to just great players, I wanted people that were either collectors themselves or were around during the golden age and knew what it was like to go buy a bass in 1961 in London. Or, do you know what I mean? And some of these guys were iconic in their own right, but also contribute to the story of the bass. So one of these gentlemen was Bill Wyman. The very first band I wanted to join when I was a kid, the song you had to play to prove you were a bass player was 2120 South Michigan Avenue by the Rolling Stones. So really that was one of the first riffs that got me a gig. So he was iconic, and also he pretty much invented the electric fretless bass. And he's a fascinating character. So he agreed to meet Daniel and I at a restaurant in London. And that was the very first interview. So here is the first time I'm on the other side, right, interviewing him. And I was a bit nervous, and Dan was him having interviewed zillions of people through the years, he was coaching me.
I was nervous too.
Yeah. But, and you know, Bill wants to talk about anything but basses. So he seriously is a fascinating individual. He's written 9 books. He's an amateur archaeologist. He's invented his own metal detector. I mean, he's a butterfly photographer, for Christ's sake. I mean, this guy is interested in everything.
Except basses.
Yeah, so you know, you don't want to talk about basses. It's like, well, I kind of do.
That fucking bass.
I kind of do, yeah. He kept saying, look at my hands. Look how small my hands are. I said, you want to know why I play basses? I played small basses because I got small hands. What else do you need to know? You know? So he was a trip, and every guy that I chose to interview in one way or another were a trip and were really fun. And I could have done 100 of them. It was, and their stories are very revealing. I think one of the nicest parts of the book.